We don't understand many things in the world, and even more, we may never discover them in our lifetimes. The more we learn, the weirder things get, and the more apparent it is that we've only scratched the surface of what nature brings to the table. From a giant squid that's larger than the Hollywood sign, to cuddly critters that exist only in nightmares, all the way down deep to freaky horrors with terrifying deep-sea abilities. There's so many insane things that have been found out there, and we can't wait to tell you about them. Get ready to reel in a big one, subscribe to the channel, and let's take a closer look at the top 10 most bizarre creatures ever found. A giant squid larger than the Hollywood sign. It's not every day you see a giant squid, so when one washed ashore on Cape Town, South Africa, people took notice on June 7th, 2020. This squid was so eccentric looking, between its powerful 8 arms and 2 tentacles covered with serrated suckers. But what got people going were his eyes. They were the largest eyes ever recorded in the animal kingdom, measuring 1 foot or 30 centimeters in diameter. This particular squid can reach as large as 60 feet or 18 meters in length. Now, this squid lives in the Isiko Museums of South Africa, helping determine with DNA whether he was indeed an anomaly or if there is more anything like him out there. Imagine dozens of these mighty creatures just filling the oceans. Thrilling, but even this guy's outlandish size is nothing on the bizarre horror of number 1 on this list. The cuddliest moth you've ever seen. When you think of moths, you might not imagine soft and cuddly looking, but that's what people found when the Venezuelan poodle moth was discovered in 2009. To this day, people don't believe it exists. This new moth species mystifies researchers as its unique appearance still surprises and shocks people who see it to this day. Unfortunately, due to their rarity and the remote location they're found, the Gran Sabana region of Venezuela, we still don't know how much about this particular creature. Hopefully, researchers can discover more about this curious cuddly critter by finding more of them in the wild. And then, maybe fewer people will think they're a hoax. I wouldn't mind if one of these showed up in my backyard. They look so soft and cuddly, so very different from the other horrors on this list. Before we go on, like this video, pop the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell right now, or the ghost in your closet will manifest itself tonight. Giant spiral-shaped siphonophores. At 150 feet long, this massive creature is the longest sea creature ever discovered. Siphonophores are tiny individual clusters of cells clone themselves thousands of times and string together into one gigantic creature. This one in particular was found off the coast of Australia by the Schmidt Ocean Institute, using a powerful underwater robot that can explore parts of the ocean that have never been touched before. The kicker is, this particular creature looks like a massive galaxy squirrel, unlike anything else that has been found. Very cool. Japanese spider crabs. Chances are you don't think crabs are that scary. Not many people think of crabs outside of as food. A fear of crabs is much less common than one of the spiders. Chances are you know someone afraid of spiders, or maybe you are yourself. But what happens when you mix the two? Well, it exists. The Japanese spider crab. These guys are a sight to be seen. They have long legs that crawl around on, but 8 still somehow a master of disguise. The Japanese spider crab can live up to a century, attributed heavily to their resilient nature and their ability to adapt. Like the fact they'll eat just about anything, even corpses. Despite all this though, their powerful claws can chop off human fingers. They aren't usually found to be aggressive towards humans. Lucky us. Devil's worm. With a name like that, you'd imagine this would be an absolute monster, but you'd be wrong. The devil's worm gets its name from the German island of Faust, after the subterranean demon Mephistopheles. The name directly references how far underground the devil worm lives. As the deepest living microorganism, it lives nearly 1.5 kilometers underground. Because of this, it's had to be resilient. So deep down, the choices were simple: adapt or die. Most similar to clams, oysters, or mussels, these high heat and high pressure tolerant organisms are no pretty sight. But at a mere 0.5 millimeters, even deep in the South African gold mines they were found, you'd probably won't see them anyways. Just know that they're always there, deep below the surface, surviving conditions we can never imagine. Maybe the name is more fitting than we thought. Dumbo octopus. This cute little weirdo is ready to charm everyone. Named after the elephant of the same name, the Dumbo octopus has cute little ears on top of its head, or at least ear-like fins, but who's keeping track? They use these little fins to propel themselves through the water and aid in steering through currents. How useful. Much smaller than other octopods, they can't ink and are one of the deepest living octopuses, way down at 400 to 4,800 meters below the ocean surface. Thankfully, they don't need that defense mechanism so far down. Predators are few and far between down there. Though this depth also means the same for prey. So when the Dumbo octopus finds something to eat, it thinks fast. It can swallow its prey whole with a single mighty gulp. The king of wasps. The Megalaura garuda, or the king of wasp, is the only species of its kind. They were localized entirely to the Mekonga Mountains in the southeastern Indonesian island of Sulawesi. This bizarre giant venomous wasp was discovered in 2012. The absolute terror is in how they look. That is to say, the females might look like other wasp species, where the males of the species have a flattened face and sharp, long sickle-shaped jaws thought to be used to protect the vulnerable larvae. But that's just it. This species has never been discovered alive. Only corpses have been observed thus far, making these completely shrouded in mystery. We hope it stays that way. Cyclops shark. You wouldn't usually put those two things together, sharks and mythological creatures. But in the belly of a pregnant shark off the coast of California in 2016, that's precisely what nature did. This nightmare of an animal has only been caught once and never observed outside the womb, so we probably will never get a legion of one-eyed sharks on our hand. It's not the first time researchers have found the condition in sharks, perhaps one the furthest along. It had grown to a shocking 22 inches before being caught and removed. We don't fully understand the condition enough to make any calls, but we won't likely forget the images that went viral of this sharky horror. Luckily for us, this terrifying little guy is unique enough to garner our attention. I would never step foot in the ocean if there were scores of these. Cthulhu larva. Not unlike the name suggests, this horror from the deep is less a horror but still rather upsetting. Also known as an abyssal sea cucumber or sea pig, it doesn't look like any other larva out there, catching attention with its distinctly pink exterior and strange tentacle-like mouth. They don't get huge, just a few inches long with no real face, and they simply eat mud. You probably won't find them as they usually live on the Demerara abyssal plain, but can be found just about anywhere except for the northern Atlantic Ocean. The genuinely scary part is that it's not just one of them alone. They're small and non-threatening, but they travel in packs of upwards to 300 to 600 and often move in unison, sort of like a unknowable hive mind. Chilling stuff. Gulper eel. Earning its place at the top of the list today is the gulper eel. They can grow to be about 2 to 3 feet in length, which hardly earns them a place in the giant deep sea horrors like the others on this list. But also known as the pelican eel, their jaws extend and balloons out to take in prey much bigger than you might have thought possible, chomping down in surprising power. They don't need flashy colors or impressive size to make them different from other eels. Their mouth, like a pelican, will scoop up water as well as the prey, allowing them to swallow them whole. Like others on this list, we don't know much about the gulper eel, just that they're another bizarre mystery of the deep. That's the top 10 most bizarre creatures ever caught or found. We know they can sometimes be the stuff of nightmares, but you have to know what's out there to keep yourself safe. These 10 creatures are some of the most wildest, most outlandish creatures we've ever seen. From the skies to dense jungles or the deep blue sea, you never know what tomorrow will bring in crazy discoveries.